All righty, good morning. It's another Wednesday, March 12th, and I got another Water Cooler Wednesday for you. I'm joined as always by Dwayne Gibbs. How you doing?
Good morning.
I got been making a lot of offers this week, my friend. A lot of offers,
Have you?
deals, and again, it's still, coming off of that trip that we had, and still a subset, I should say, at least, of people just going, where's all the inventory? Where's all the deals? I'm like, I don't know where you guys are looking or if you're setting the parameters wrong or what it is, but we're closing deals every week, and it's just it's interesting. And part of that I think is people who are looking through the same lens of 10 years ago trying to find the same type of deals. Guess what? They don't exist. The market changes and you have to adjust with those changes, or they're just not in the right location looking for deals. I don't know how many people came up to you about that.
I hear it all the time on a daily basis. Can't find any inventory. And I'm like, well, that's awful funny. I said, you know, we're closing deals every week. I said, I don't know if it's because Kevin, is so great. I hate to use that word to boost that head of yours, but you do a great job at really analyzing the deals and just looking at it so many different ways. And that just comes from experience. How
Yeah.
many ways can you look at this deal to try and figure out, hey, if it's a deal or not? Now, are your parameters, do you need to shift a little bit? And we talk about it every single week that market conditions change, so you have to change, and so you have to be more versed and of doing the note business and just different strategies. What's that look like? You just have to be more creative, and so um, I don't know. I guess it's because you spend more time with your students versus other people. I don't know what you accredit it to, but you're playing in a lot of the same sandbox as others, and they're even people that are playing in that sandbox saying I can't find any deals, and I don't know. I guess they have a hard time analyzing.
Yeah, I think that's a part of it too. And you're right. I mean, you've been able to jump on enough of the one-on-one sessions I'm doing with people, and well, as you know, I mean, when we're hunting a deal, I mean, sometimes an hour will go past and it's like, well, let's keep going. Can you keep going? And we'll just figure it out, as
Yeah,
we go through. And yeah, I think you're right. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes people will see a deal where they just can't understand it or they can't understand the math or read between it. And yes, does that sound unfair sometimes that I'm seeing deals that other people don't because of the experience? That's life, man. That's why again, you can learn at your own pace or you can learn through the experience of others, and everybody's known that lesson throughout. So that is a part of it, being able to look at some of these and go, oh, most people would pass on this right now simply because they don't understand it. But if we just go past that next little level, gather more information, and go back and analyze it, well, then we found a deal that other people simply didn't do because they didn't ask the right
and
questions. And
I'll
sometimes
say that
it's
it's
out
not
figure it
even
out.
not necessarily the newbies as well. I mean, we've
Yeah.
we've worked with some seasoned investors that have looked at it and said, "Oh, I can't figure it out," and they're
Yeah.
doing 200-300 properties a year and didn't realize,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm looking at it through a different set of lenses, and they're learning something as well. So,
Yeah. And
uh,
those are the ones who get trapped in the same stuff that was working years ago. I mean, the market makes adjustments, and if you try to stick tough to your model and the market moves on you, all of a sudden you don't find deals. You were working within the market, now all of a sudden the market's here, and you're still chasing deals that just don't fit anymore. It's like learning stuff that was taught 10 years ago. Is it working
yeah,
today?
right. No
So
question.
I got an interesting one for you because this one just a few days ago I just missed out on, and it happens. It just absolutely happens when you're out there making enough offers and looking at enough deals. There's sometimes ones that you really want to get, and you have to make decisions based on numbers and stories and not always emotion. But I knew when I saw this one, I said this one's going to go quick. I can't make too many moves on this one, but there was some quirkiness to it. And I progressed through and made an offer, and they got a higher offer. And
Mm.
it's just so as a result, I missed out on this one, but I thought I would reanalyze that and go back and say, did I make the right move? Should I have made a different number and kind of take it from that perspective? Because if you're in it, like I said, you will miss out on deals. Um, but you'll notice in my heading on this one, I put a performing note, a missed one, but so far. Because you and I both know what happens sometimes is another investor will throw out the full offer and then start to look at stuff and then go, oh yeah, I can't
Yeah,
do
they'll
this
pull
one.
back.
And they back out, and then the
Yeah.
seller comes back to me, and I'm like, there we go, it's returned. And that's happened more often than not. So it's pretty interesting when that sort of thing does happen. Forgot to put silence on here. Let me do that. Do not disturb. All right. So far, I'm still being optimistic about this one because it is something that's brand new. Nice little house,
Nice house.
mid-America, Indiana. In a town you've never heard of in Indiana, called Brazil, Indiana. Most people have never heard of that. This is actually the second note I've seen in this town,
Really?
in Brazil. Yeah, it always stood out to me because who knows there's a Brazil, Indiana, really. So it always stuck in my brain, and had a really cool case study on it before. Now this one's a completely different deal, but yeah, you can see this is just a very middle America, heart of America kind of home here. So this listing came up, and you can see this goes, the original listing, February 21st, I guess is when it came up. Gosh, that seems a little long ago, but I just started the process with him when I saw this. So here's the thing on this one. So the property's worth about $95,000, and I verified that. That's true. It's $28,000 balance, 8.475% is the coupon rate. That's the rate that the consumer is paying here, not the rate of return that I would get. But as you start to go through this, it says, well, there's a $10,000 kicker upon payoff. Okay, well, what is that lingo
What's that
in
mean?
this business? So the
Mm.
kicker is going to be, that's a tip off to say at some point in time, this note went bad and they did a modification
Mm.
and they took a balance of 10,000 and said, all right, you're still going to pay us this back, but we're just going to take it and move it to the back of the loan. And that'll either accrue interest or won't accrue interest. We have to look at that. That might be paid down or not be able to be paid down. But that's what you're going to have to pay at the end of the loan. All right. So that's what's the kicker is. And when you think about that kicker, how much value does it bring today? May not bring as much as you think, unless it's accruing interest. If it's just 10,000 that's sitting out there and the loan has 234 months to go, well, what is $10,000 worth today for when you're not going to receive it for 233 months? So that's where you got to
Well,
be able to
that's
understand the time value of money. So again, this was probably one that some people looked at, got wrapped around the math and couldn't really figure that out. It is being professionally serviced, which we always like. It's a $15 fee, which also probably tells me they're not doing escrow, which I'm totally fine with. 10-year history, without missing a payment, they say. Um, the balance is higher, 234 months plus the kicker, attractive yield, steady payments, clean history. And again, it's a good looking property. It's one of the aspects we always have to think of, and it rarely happens, but if I had to take this house back, would I be okay with that? Especially if I'm investing like $24,000, 100%. So when you can look at deals like that and say, so what is my risk, and eliminate risk, now it becomes a matter of discount and yield. That's really all this is. And so some people probably have a hard time going through that math and figuring out what that yield is. I know because when you load information on paper stack like this, um, it's not it doesn't always fit in the box of what a note is, especially when it's been modified, because it's kind of static information that you have to enter here. But yes, we can pick up, here's the balance, 28,000, but the legal payoff is 38. Well, what's that 38? That's the other $10,000 kicker on there. Original balance was this. And a lot of times I'll start with the original balance and start to figure out and go, wait a minute, the math comes up where there's no solution or something's off, and that tells me it's been modified. No problem with the modified loan, But to buy it, I have to see the modification. There's no way you could run the numbers without seeing the modification because that's what opens up the whole deal. So it's very difficult for an investor just looking at these numbers to really do the math and calculate and see what their yield is. And if they're doing it just based upon this, they're opening themselves up for a mistake because you have somebody who has a creative deal that's trying to put it in the box of just filling out this template. And inevitably, there's going to be some things that are not clarified. Now, he tried to clear a lot of it up here, but that's not really enough to make a bid on, if you will. So I requested that information, and I blacked out some of the info. But you can see what this has. This loan went bad. They built up an arrearage account, and they said, okay, if you want to prevent foreclosure, here's what we're going to do. You got to come up with $4,000 just to reinstate the loan, and you have to come up with that by September 12th, 2014. Once we get that arrearage amount, we're going to take this balance here that you have and reduce it substantially. We're going to reduce it down to 42,000 from 68.9. So you can see that this balance initially at the time when they went through this, it was a payoff. Gosh, I don't know why it keeps moving around there. Sensitive mouse. Is $68,900 is what was owed. And the agreement is, okay, here's what we'll do for you. Pay us $4,000 in good faith, and we will reduce that $68,955. So let's just call it 69,000. We'll reduce that all the way down to 42,000. Furthermore, we're going to take 10,000 of that 42,000. That's going to be called our deferred balance. You can see the arrow right there. And we're going to put that due way out in 2044 with the last payment of this loan. And it's not going to accrue any interest at all. Okay, so it's just $10,000 sitting there. When you go to make that last payment on your loan, it's not just another 245 bucks. It's that plus 10,000. That's what.
That lender's really working with that buyer for
Oh,
sure.
totally, right. And yeah, so these are things that lenders like this who do seller financing are going to be more creative and more willing to work with people. You're not going to see something like this with a bank. It's too much for
Yeah,
them to do or want to do, quite frankly.
right.
So that's what they did. So they're working out a good deal. This person's monthly payment's going to go from 451 down to 245. A substantial savings. And why would they do something like that, by the way? Well, because they've made enough money on this, and rather than getting the house and going through all of that, they'd rather get it performing again. So they opened a conversation with the person, they figured out what could work, and that's what they ultimately did, and got this note going from non-performing back to reperforming. Okay, so you can see in this form, and again, this will be replayed on YouTube if you're just listening to this on audio on the podcast or something, because I do rebroadcast this on my Real Estate Without Renters podcast. But if you want to see the full video and you're not watching live on Facebook right now, you can check X. I'll repost this live, or you can go to YouTube as well. So all the details are there. And then you've got down here, which I thought was interesting. They put another condition upon here where they're talking about the new payment. So your payment used to be $451. It's now going to be $245, but you have to agree to do that by ACH deduction until balance is paid in full. Very interesting. Smart way to do that. Legally enforceable and all, I don't know. But if the consumer agrees to that, and that's what they've been doing, you're likely to see a very consistent payment history. And if I were to go back and look at his comments, he said there was a good period of time where the payments have been made consistently. Well, if it's on ACH, that's typically going to happen. So that's a positive thing working towards this. Failure to have sufficient funds in your account will be another late charge. The grace period remains on the original note. All those sorts of things are agreed upon. So it's well written up here. As to the deferred balance, that's that $10,000 kicker, he's calling it. As to that deferred balance, they gave them an option to buy that out for 5,000 bucks. So they said, okay, that 10,000 moving to the end of the loan, but here's the deal. This is the year 2014. Within 3 years, right? No, what is that? October, November? No, August, September 2017, if you pay us $2,500 towards that balloon, that $10,000, the deferred balance, we'll write down another 2,500.
Hmm.
So $2,500 payment makes a $5,000 reduction. Okay, the old carrot and the stick here, right? And then they have another one 2 years after that, 2019. If you pay another $2,500 towards that deferred balance, we'll write down the other 2,500, and that balloon's gone. So they could have popped that balloon, so to speak, or paid off that deferred balance with as little as $5,000 and been able to do that in two payments of $2,500, 3 and 5 years apart. So when you see that, what do you have to do? You got to go back to the payment history and see if they've done that, because people make mistakes. I'm working on another separate deal that just came back on the market, by the way. And I was right about the balance because I looked at their modification and I said, the information you have on PaperSack is wrong. Here's what it says in the note. You got to redo this. And I don't think that person did it on purpose. I just think, they own the note for years and they hadn't looked at it, or I'm looking at it with a microscope and I'm going, I got to see. So there's a chance that he could have put a $10,000 kicker and forgot or wasn't a part of the fact that they paid $2,500 and now that deferred balance is only $5,000. That changes my numbers. Or maybe they paid off the whole thing. So we have to verify that. We trust, but verify on this thing. So it's an interesting loan modification. So I went all through that, and the seller was smart enough and nice enough to send that to me so I could really make an educated bid on this one. Now they were looking for 23.5 on this note. And because of the kicker, we have to do this math a little bit differently than you would normally see on a financial calculator. Now, again, I know if you're just listening to this is going to be a little tricky to follow here, but we have to include the future value into this one. So I've pre-done the calculation to save us a little bit of time here. At their asking price of 23.5, that would be our money out. So we're investing out of our pocket, our IRA, whatever, $23,500. What are we getting back? We're getting the monthly payment, principal and interest, of $245.49 per month back every month for 233 months. Then at the end of the 233 months, we're getting 10 grand. So 10 grand's our future value. Our time period's 233 months. Our monthly payment is $245.49. And we're paying presently today, we're paying $23,500. So then we enter into the calculation and say, what is my interest per year on that? And we solve for interest per year. And you can see on my screen there, it's 11.76. And as I've been saying, notes on the performing basis have been trading between 10 and 12%. So this note seller is smart. I mean, they've got it priced pretty well in the marketplace. Great return. You've got the safety because the property's worth, what did I say, Dwayne? You remember? 90 something thousand?
Look
at it real quick.
No, I think it was
94,000.
Oh,
no,
94.
Yeah, $94,000.
Yeah.
And you'd be in it for 23. So your investment to value ratio is simple. Your safety mechanism is there. And again, you'll never end up getting this house back. They'll continue to pay, but they've got so much equity now that if things happened where they ran into trouble again and you couldn't do a modification and you had to go through foreclosure, the house would sell at a foreclosure sale easily for 70 grand if it's worth 95. So it sells for 70 grand. At that point, they only owe you, 30 something thousand dollars. They would just pay you out and walk with 40. So again, it's one of those things. There's so much equity protection in this. Your safety is good. You're getting it at a good discount, by the way, too, especially when you add in that deferred balance. And again, you could calculate that a little bit differently. I'm paying $23,000 with a $28,000 balance. So my discount just on that number is 82%, and being in the 80s is good. If we added the deferred balance, it's even lower. But as I said, that $10,000 really, today's value, doesn't have a whole lot of steam to it because it's just not accruing any interest. It's
Mhm.
nice to have down the road, don't get me wrong. Or if the person sells the house or refinances, it's good to have. But that's what we're looking at. So what was my offer on this one? I could have come in at 23.5, but the reality is that some fees have gone up on paper stack. And on this one, as a seasoned investor, I probably wouldn't get a BPO. I'm comfortable with the value. I researched that enough. I'm probably comfortable with the title as well. I didn't spend as much time on that on this one. I wanted to get the bid in there, but I believe this was owned a long time. The note was traded twice. So I would probably be okay with the title. Most people wouldn't. So they would get a title report. So when you add in the other fees, okay, so the $23,500, if I add in the closing costs on this one of about $700 through paper stack, which includes the escrow and their entitlement fee, plus I've got another, let's say, $100 for the title report. If you're a new investor, you might even add in another $80 for a BPO. And there's going to be recording fees. I'm not going to get into the tiny stuff, but that alone is enough to bump your total cash out in the first year, of course, your investment to 24.3. So if I add that number back in as my present value, calculating not just my investment for the note, but my expenses in acquiring that note as a calculation, if I resolve for yield, it does drop me down a little bit, not substantially. So in hindsight, maybe I could have done the asking price, but I figured, you know what? I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to shave off $1,000 because that way, if I do have to come in or if I buy this and I have those same expenses, my expenses are covered in the cost, right? So I came in at 22.5, okay, which puts me at a higher yield. But again, that my net out would be 23.5, 23, something like that when I add in the closing cost. So did I get greedy on that one or not? That's debatable. That's the part of the business that you don't know. How motivated is this seller? So I put my offer in $1,000 less than their asking price. Okay, so again, their asking price was 23.5. I came in at 22.5, which bumped the numbers just a little bit. And I also made it where they get the next payment. We're in March, so this wouldn't close until mid-April. They'd have received the payment in April, so I'm buying one less payment. So I just ran my numbers that way and made the offer because this would end up being 232 on that. Doesn't change it that much. But that's what I would be looking at. And somebody came in with a higher offer. So who knows? Maybe it was $500 more, maybe it was $1,000 more. Um, I don't know. And but he just informed me, hey, I got a higher offer, and he did it right away. So somebody else was jumping on this, and he said if it comes back, I'll let you know. And so again, my thoughts on that is, yeah, no one likes to lose out on a deal by 500 or $1,000 because at the end of the day, that wouldn't have changed my yield that much. But at the same time, that's what I was comfortable at. That's the number that felt right to me and a number that I felt that he would accept. Um, and I think, ultimately he would have, if this other party didn't come along, I wouldn't see him coming back and saying, nope, I am hard at 23.5 and that's it. I think he would have taken my offer. It just so happened somebody else came along. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to wait it out. So I replied to him. I said, I appreciate it because legally, we didn't have a purchase and sale agreement. We were just in that negotiation phase and he, found somebody else and he's going to go with them. So I play the waiting game and I never feel bad about, gee, did I missed out on one. Somebody was willing to pay more than I would,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the way you have to look at it.
Hey, did you go back and look? I didn't hear, or I may have missed the $2,500 in 2014 or 17. Did the homeowner come up with the 2,400 bucks? or the
No,
2,500
no. So
bucks?
yeah, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I didn't put the payment history on there, but the payment history was through a professional, a huge note servicing company called FCI out of California, and they've been servicing this note since 2014.
Yeah.
So that was before, right before this negotiation of the loan mod. So I was able to look through the payment history, and they have a column on there for deferred balance of 10,000,
Mhm.
and it was never paid. It was never paid down. You know,
So they didn't opt of saying, hey, I'll pay because my mortgage payment's so low. And again, we don't know their financial
right.
situation, but heck, if I can get $2,500 taken off and I only have to pay 2,500 bucks, uh, you would have thought, you know,
Yeah, in total, they could have paid 5 grand to to pay off 10,000. Sure.
yeah, yeah.
They never did it. And I looked at that.
Wow.
Yeah, I looked at that payment history for sure. And I felt comfortable. If it was a seller finance kind of deal, I would really have to have a affidavit before I would buy the note saying, that they did not pay the extra money.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it was with a professional licensed servicing company and they had that deferred column and everything else, I was like, yeah, they chose not to do it.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, but
That's a
yeah,
good
so that's
looking
all.
property,
That's what
you
I looked
know. I
at.
mean, it looks like they're taking care of it. It looks there's some emotional equity into it. And let me tell you what, that the lender cannot be any more flexible. And we see that from time to time, but you know, it's one that got away, but
Well,
maybe
so
it'll come
far,
back.
yeah. Yeah. And again, when you look at this house and you go, you're paying $245 a month.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, everybody, this is a nice house.
There's probably some people yelling at this video right now, or
Yeah. I
at
mean,
their screen saying they'd take it all day. Who
I
would?
get it's a 3-1, 1,450 square feet, basically, but very well maintained. I purposely, when I put this picture, this is just from Google Maps. When I put this
Makes
picture
sense.
up, I wanted to show part of the house next door, it gives a little flavor of the neighborhood. And just, I mean, manicured lawn and bushes and, all that sort of stuff. And just a nice looking house, middle America. You pop this somewhere else in the country, and that $94,000 price is going to go up, pretty substantially. But yeah, I mean, to pay, there's no way in this area you could even rent a house like that for $245 a month. There's no way. So they're highly motivated to stay and pay on the loan. And like I said, you're going to have that buffer of equity involved in this, that the whole time, where it's like, well, they're going to stay and pay and not going to have a problem. And if worst case scenario happens, you're still good.
Yeah.
So yep, I wish I would have got it. And who knows, I might be back on another Wednesday saying, hey, y'all remember that note in Brazil, Indiana? Guess what, it came back, baby. And sometimes that happens. So be optimistic about it. Yeah. So that's what I got for you. And just a quick example, but a sideline to that is there inventory out there? I mean,
You just have to go
I
through
just
it.
showed you a deal that I was just looking at over the last couple of days. I mean, I really should have to go back and see when that started. I think my offers on that, I'll have to log into my account, but um, because I know it said 19 days on there, but not when I was working on it. I'll show you. Let's see. That was this one. And yeah, so I started on that 7 days ago.
No,
So yeah, so when it was on there for 12 days and got the documents, and I made an offer on it the second day. And the reason it took me the second day, of course, was I got to see the mod. I don't want to make an offer not knowing what I'm doing, and I had to see that loan mod. So they got me the loan mod, went through it, and sent that offer. And then the next day, which would have been 5 days, he said, "Hey, I got Let me see. Hey, Kevin, I received a better offer and I'm working to close. If it doesn't go through, I'll let you know. Thanks again for your interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that. So
Well, it happens.
we shall see. We shall see. But other ones in the fire. I just, as we were talking, I just got emails this morning countering an offer on my counter offer to another deal that I'm working on right now. But I don't have that one locked up. This is one on the counter offer, by the way, that just came in on my email. Uh,
Hmm.
might be able to might be able to take that. Um, this is a deal that was the one I briefly mentioned that the math was wrong. You know, what they had on paper stack, when I showed the mod and I showed screenshots, I said, I hate to tell you, but here's what I'm seeing in the document. And here's what you have on paper stack. And they pulled it off of paper stack. And
Mm.
the other day
That's
when
something that we've looked at recently.
yeah, it's in South Carolina. I don't really want to disclose it because I don't have this
Yeah,
under
yeah, yeah,
contract yet.
yeah.
So, um, it's yeah, it's just so they took it off the market. They redid everything, and of course, the numbers that I had were, and the correct numbers, and not.
Mm.
I was just reading what was on there. Here's what they had, and again, I think it was this note owner just hadn't looked at the note in a while and didn't realize that the servicing company hadn't made that adjustment, and so they had to correct some things, and now it's back. And I was like, hey, I'm still interested, but she's wanting the old price that I had, but
Mm.
it's like no, no. So we'll see where I end up on
New price, old car.
that. Yeah, that one. Talk about deferred balance like on this one. Um, the other one that I got the counter offer on, she goes, well, the note's more valuable because now I've added in the legal fees that I paid because that note got into trouble, and she,
Mm.
I don't know, like $1,200 in legal fees weren't on there from the servicing company, and she corrected that with them because I told her, you need to adjust your balances here. But again, it's set up as a deferred balance, and this note goes out 38 years.
Mm.
So that $1,200, 38 years from now, I hate to tell you, but it's not adding value, to your note. It's really not. That's worth pennies, right now. So, we'll see. We shall see. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in and look, there's a lot of opportunity out there and Dwayne's right. He hit on it earlier. We work with people of all different experience levels and I look at so many deals and all of that experience that I have is very rarely that I run into something that I've never encountered before. And that's simply just time and looking at deals. That's how I spend my days, just one-on-one working with people. And when I'm not working with people, I'm looking for deals for my elite level clients that I partner with. So I'm constantly just looking at things, and it really helps you keep in tune with what's going on in the market today, not what was going
Mm.
on 5, 10 years ago. What is happening today? Where are we? What's realistic? And it's been great. So we work with people at all different levels, and it's not, I don't charge a crazy amount like you see some of these other trainings at 50 to 100. Who we were talking the other day to somebody that $100,000 training,
Yesterday.
it's like,
Yeah.
man, come on, so work with us, and you'll be able to work directly with myself and Dwayne. A lot of times Dwayne will jump on the one-on-one sessions that I do with people and we're all about finding deals for you, and there's a lot to go around. So give us a call and let's see if it's something that we can work with you on and take your business to the next level or get you started into this area. And we'll put Dwayne's Calendly link up for you, and I'll put that in the in the postings at the other sources that I put this on. And all you do is, you pick a date and a time and have a little phone call with Dwayne, and he'll Dwayne's been an expert in this for a long time. And between Dwayne and I, we've probably put more people in this industry than anybody. And so he knows how to direct it. And I'll be quite frank with you, if he says, look, this isn't a good fit for you, it's not a good fit for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. We want to work with people who want to get this business done and want to move forward on it. So, he'll be right up front and straight with you and just let you know if it's going to fit or not. There's his Calendly links, just calendly.com /Dwayne Gibbs NMS. And he'll be get right on the phone with you, pick a date and time, and let's talk. And that's how we work. So thanks everybody. Dwayne, anything I missed?
No. Really, I
Okay.
just would say, keep at it. If you're going on some of these asset companies and you're looking at them and you can't find anything, I would tell you that you're probably doing something wrong. If you can't find anything at all and say, "Oh, I don't know what's going on. The market's dried up and I can't find any assets," I would say you're doing something wrong and evaluate it. And if you're having that situation, you know, reach out to me. Let's go through it. Let's talk about it, and let's figure out how we can help you. If we have to peel back the onion a little bit and look at the deal and say, okay, this is kind of what you were seeing wrong. That's what we do, and that's what Kevin was alluding to. That's what we do every single day. So
Yeah, and you're right.
and it's a free call. So
Yeah.
don't think you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's a free call. I meet with you, and then we look at your questions and or deal that you're struggling with.
Yeah, and to your point, it's happened maybe very infrequently, but sometimes there will be a week that I go through and I don't see anything,
Yeah.
that fits, what I'm looking for. But if you're, in a situation where you're going, it's been a month or 2 months, right? Then yeah, you're definitely doing something wrong or not looking at things properly or what have you, for sure. A week I could understand because I've seen that before too, where I'm like, a little dry right now. And then what happens the following week, you're like, oh, here we go. Now I got 4 things I'm looking at. So it has its way of working out. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in and do
Hey, Kevin, I want to
appreciate
make
it.
one more
Yeah,
point.
man.
What we do see is people that have deals that they've worked on recently, past couple weeks, months, and something just they didn't think about at that time. They just want to run something by us. Hey, I saw this deal. I was going through it. Numbers didn't work. Does this look right, or was I thinking right or not? And so, if you have that type of situation, reach out as well.
Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you again next Wednesday. Thanks again.
Yeah. Goodbye.